Boker Tov. Today's daf is daf Ayin, number 70. We're more than halfway through the Masechet. As we learn for Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael Nesuim Batzar V'Shivya. Says the Mishnah from the top of the page. Me'emasai Chayiv. When is a Ben Sorah Chayiv? As we've learned yesterday, that the age limits are from the age of 13, his bar mitzvah, up until either 3 months or the time he grows a lower beard, whichever one comes sooner. But what does he have to do to be chayiv? So number one, we'll talk. Today's daf doesn't talk about it, but he has to actually steal money from his parents and buy these things. What things? He has to eat a certain measure of meat. We'll talk about the kind of meat. He has to drink a half a log of Italian wine, a special wine. The idea here, as we'll see throughout the daf, is that he has to do things in a bad company and eat kind of things that he will become accustomed to. So he'll follow in this path, and this will lead him down the evil road. He'll come to murder and hurt people, and therefore Hashem said, take him off the world early. So it's not necessarily something that's physically addicting, but it's something that he'll become accustomed to. So if he eats this amount of meat and drinks that amount of wine, of that kind of wine, then he qualifies to be Ben Sarmor, and his parents bring him to court. Rabbi Yossi Omer, Mana Basar, a full measure, like 100, weight of 100 dinars, like a Mana, that measure of meat, v'lo gyayin and a lo gyayin. Now we'll see, notice he says lo gyayin, and the Tanakama said chatzi lo gyayin. So he doubled the amount of wine, and we'll see, therefore, when we didn't know what he said, a measure, tartima is a measure of meat, according to Tanakam. Rabbi Yossi says mana basar. Since Rabbi Yossi doubles the amount of wine, we can assume that he doubles the amount of meat too, and therefore the tartimer, which is a strange lashon, what that measure is, it's probably half a mana. Let's say he didn't eat with a gang of bandits or people who are idlers, people who don't do anything, but he ate at a mitzvah, for example. Let's say he ate at a bris, or he ate at Ibra Chodesh. Ibra Chodesh means not when they sanctified a new moon, when they declared a new moon, but rather when the moon was not sanctified on the 30th. Every month we know is either 29 or 30 days. If they didn't see a new moon on the 30th day, so what they would do is at the end of the 30th day, the night after the 30th, they would gather make a feast, a party, and to publicize that that the month has been extended the previous month, and the new month begins tomorrow, not today. So this is also sort of a mitzvah. Let's say he ate Meiser Sheni in Yerushalayim. In other words, he stole money from his father and he bought some Meiser Sheni. He bought some Meiser Sheni with that money and took it to Yerushalayim to eat. Also, all these things are excluded from being a Ben Sarmora, because as we'll see, that these things don't make him, when he does a mitzvah, that's not something that's he's going to be accustomed to follow in a bad path. Let's say he ate something which was not kosher, an avela or a treifa, or birds, whatever, or shkatzim or muslim refers to bad, unkosher birds. So all these things also exclude him from being a Ben Sarmora, because the idea is the parents have to say, as we'll see, he doesn't listen to us. He doesn't listen to our voice. Here he's not listening to God's voice. So it's not the same, even though it might be worse, but it's not a Ben Sarmora. So let's say he ate tevel, or things also which is also to eat. If all these things are also to eat. Let's say he ate something which is a mitzvah. Now, what do we mean by that? We already talked about Achal B'Chapuras mitzvah. Here we'll see we're talking about even a mitzvah drabanan, or something which is a Isser drabanan. All these things, if it's a mitzvah, he doesn't become accustomed to it. So therefore, he doesn't become Betzar. Betzar Mara is only somebody who does something which is going to he'll become accustomed to it, sort of like addicted, not necessarily physically addiction, but addicted to it psychologically. And he'll follow in this bad path. If it's Davar Shel Aveira, he's not listening to God. It's not that he's not listening to his parents. Let's say he ate a lot of food, but he didn't eat meat. Just saying he drank a lot of beer, whatever, drank a strong drink, whiskey, but he didn't drink wine. He doesn't become he's got to do both. He's got to eat the meat, as we said, that certain measure of meat, and drink the wine, Italian wine. Shenemar Zolel v'saveh. Zolel refers to somebody who's a glutton, and sove it means somebody who drinks, who's a drunkard. Even though it's not a solid proof, we can see a remembrance, we can hint at it. Shneimar, it says, Al tihi b'sove yain, don't be among those who become drunk on wine, b'zole basar lomo, or among those who eat meat with abandon, that they are gluttons. Amar Rav Zera. So Rav Zera said, we already explained this in the Mishnah, Tartima za'eni yodei. When the Mishnah said Tanakama says he doesn't become a ben somer until he eats a tartimar of meat. How much is it to me? I didn't know what it was. Since Rabbi Yossi doubled the measure of wine over the Tanakama, in other words, the Tanakama said chatzi log and he said a full log. So him said kofel as a basar. We assume that he's also dubbed, that Rabbi Yossi is also doubling the basar. But him said tarhama, therefore a tartim is how much? Chatzi mana, like a 50 dinar weight of meat. Amrav Chanan bar Molda. Amrav Huna. En chavet shikach basar bezol. Not only is Zol, the lashon of Zol refers to a glutton, but also Zol is lashon of cheap. He's not chayiv until he buys basar cheaply. V'yochel yayin b'zol. In other words, he's got to buy them cheaply. Why? Vishayin techsiv Zol el v'soveh. Zol v'soveh sounds like he's got to buy it. He's got to buy these things on the cheap market. V'yamrav Chanan bar Molda amrav Huna. He's not chayiv unless he eats raw meat and raw wine. Is that the case for Rav Yosef Tavayo? He's not a ben sarmara if he eats those things. If it's really raw meat or totally undiluted wine, he doesn't become accustomed to it. So therefore, he wouldn't be chayiv. You just said he's not chayiv unless he eats raw things. Now you're saying, and Rav Yosef said, he eats those things, he's not a Zedmara. Ravina, when Rafuna said that he's not chayiv until he eats raw meat or raw wine, undiluted wine, yayin chayiv mazig l'mazig means it's only partially diluted. A basar chayiv bashal v'lo bashal. It's partially cooked. Kabasar kiba, like charred meat. The achligan, the ganavim, they're always in a rush. They steal some meat and they quickly eat it. They don't have time to barbecue it. To make it the proper, the way you want the meat to be roasted properly. That's what we mean over here. He does it in a way that ganavim do it. Robert, and therefore that's going to make him accustomed to do that. And once he adopts these bad habits, he will just lead him down a bad path, and therefore he becomes a ben sarah. But again, as we'll see, he has to steal the money and buy these things and buy them on the cheap market, buy them cheaply, and eat these measures, etc. Very complicated for him to really become a ben sarah. That's why we'll see that the general opinion is, there's a machlokas, the general opinion is that you can never really have a ben sarah. Rav Yosef Tabai, if he eats salted meat or pickled meat for shasya and begita, or he drank wine right out of the vat, meaning it's not really ready to drink, ain't an ben sarah. He doesn't become ben sarah. We get it again because if it's totally salted, that he won't become accustomed to eat that, and also totally raw wine. We learned elsewhere in Tainus that Erev Tisha B'Av, and Erev Tisha B'Av, you're not supposed to eat a lot of meat. You shouldn't eat two different cooked dishes. This is like the Suda Mafsekas. Shouldn't eat meat. Shouldn't eat meat and drink wine. He could eat salted meat because that's not so good anymore. So that's not so bad going into the fast. Pardon? Before Tisha B'Av. Even if it's Shabbos or only if it's Shabbos? What are you asking?
Because we don't eat meat before Tisha B'Av.
Right. You're talking about on the 9 days. That's already a minute. I don't think it means that. I don't think we're talking about those are minhagim about the 9 days, and doesn't always apply if you hold shvu shechalbo and whatever.
This is Erev Tisha B'Av.
Yeah, Erev Tisha B'Av. Okay, if it's Shabbos, right. Even if it's Shabbos, on Shabbos that doesn't apply at all. On Shabbos you could eat everything. He probably means without that. Erev Tisha B'Av maybe means without those minhagim of not eating basar yain. I don't think that's not like a halacha that you can't. Those are minhagim. So here I don't think he means dafka Shabbos. So he says he could eat salted meat, v'shos yain migito, and he could drink totally raw, right out of the vat, right out of the wine press, because that's not really proper. So basar maliach ad kama. What do we consider? When does it become basar maliach? In other words, when you say you could eat salted meat ad kama, what's considered salted? It's like age. It's like a shlom. Shlom can be eaten. A carbon shlom can be eaten for 2 days and a night. That's basically like 36 hours. So if it's within 36 hours, then it's like fresh and you shouldn't eat that. V'yayin mihito ad kama kos manchutos, as long as it's fermenting. So while it's fermenting, so you could do that. It's not really wine yet. It's not wine that's fit for drinking. I have a time yayin tosus ain't b'mishim gili. That's not a kasha. It's really, it should say, yeah, it's a strange thing because here it doesn't say, Rashi doesn't say benichusa, but it is. He says, Vatanya, yayin toses, if it's fermenting, ain't b'mishim gili. In other words, you're not supposed to drink, if you leave some exposed wine, you can't drink it in those days because snakes would get in there and deposit their venom there. But if it's fermenting, even the snake won't go in there. So the point is that yayin that's still fermenting is not really fit to drink, and therefore you could drink it Erev Tisha B'Av. It's not really like drinking wine. Even a snake wouldn't go in there. So how long is that? Shlosha yamim. So there we say when it comes to Tisha B'Av, you can eat meat if it's past 36 hours, past 36 hours since you roasted it or whatever, became fit to eat. And when it comes to wine, as long as it's within 3 days while it's fermenting. So that's when it comes to Tisha B'Av. Hachamai, what about over here when we're talking about a Ben Sarmara? It says Hasam Mishum Simcha there, it's because of Simcha, and you're not supposed to have Simcha Erev Tisha B'Av, Kozman Shu Memsher, Kozman Shu Kishlomim. As long as the meat is still fresh within 36 hours, there's Simcha. Past 36 hours, there's no more Simcha, so you can eat it Erev Tisha B'Av. Here it's because you become addicted or accustomed to it. As long as it's a little bit, as long as you left it over a little bit of time, it's not going to draw you in. It's not going to. Rashi says here, Kozman. In other words, as long as it passed one night, meaning if it's 12 hours old already and the meat hasn't been preserved or whatever. You had to keep it refrigerated. It's not going to addict you. So therefore, you can eat the meat. If you eat meat that's within 12 hours, once it's once it's past the 12-hour mark, it's not going to and therefore it won't be accustomed to it anymore. So you shouldn't eat fresh meat, obviously. If he eats fresh meat, that's a ben saramara. But if he ate meat which is not fresh anymore, it's past 12 hours, then he won't become accustomed to it, and that doesn't make him into a ben saramara. V'yayin ad mem yom. Okay, when it comes to water that's been exposed, 3 days. So 3 days a snake won't go in there. And if the Tisha B'Av, once it's past 3 days already, once it's past, you shouldn't drink it after Tisha B'Av, only up until 3 days. But over here, when it comes to being accustomed, even until 40 days, it's still fermenting. And therefore, up until 40 days, he wouldn't, up until 40 days would be also for him to drink, would turn into a Ben Sarah, would be a Ben Sarah Mora. Rashi says here, and here also, once it's past 40 days, it's no longer. In other words, when we said before that he said drank wine from the gate, ain't a nas ben saramora. What's the gito? Until 40 days. Past 40 days, it's already good wine, and that could make him accustomed to it. So when it comes to meat, it's within, let's say, 12 hours. But if it's past 12 hours, it's called basar malich. It's called like pickled or salted. And if it's past 40, pardon?
Delicatessen.
Yeah, delicatessen. And if it's past 40 days of the wine, then would also cause him to become a ben saramora. Amar Chanan, lo nivro yayim. Now we get into the concept of wine. For all you fine schmeckers and like to drink wine, yeah, there is a hint here. It's not totally bad. There is a hint that sometimes a small measure of wine is good for you. But most of the psukim are going to teach us here that wine, you got to be careful with wine. Amar Chanan, lo niver yayin ba'olam, wine was only created only to comfort the bereaved because they're in such bad shape that wine will lift their spirits. Well, and also to pay back the Rishon in this world for their whatever good they have. We don't want them to go into the next world, so we give them, it's like a reward. Wine is considered a good thing to make people happy if they're bereaved or to relieve their bereavement. And to give Rishon a schar in this world. Shneimar tnu shecher la'oved. Pasuk in Mishlei says what? Give strong drink to the one who is lost, the one who's dying because he's in Russia. V'yayin l'mari nefesh, and give wine to the person who's bitter, who's bereaved. Amar Yitzchak, Ma'idach Siv, Al Yain Ki Yisadam. Another pasuk there says, "What? Don't look at wine when it's red." Meaning, don't try to be accustomed to drinking wine. Al Yain Shemadim Pneim Shlosham. Don't look at wine which makes the Rishom's faces red, meaning that they drink wine and makes them feel good. In this world, and it makes them, a person's white, meaning they're shamed in the next world. In this world, it makes them happy, but this causes them to do bad, and they'll lose their share in the next world. Next world, they'll be shamed. Rav Amar Alter Yain Ki Yisadam. Don't look at wine when it's red. Alter Yain she'achriso dam. Yisadam doesn't just mean red; it means achriso dam. That at the end he'll be killed because of it, because drinking too much wine can lead to bad things. Rav Kana Rami Ksiv Yes's Kasha. Ksiv, it says T-Rosh. T-Rosh, the Korean T-Rosh, we read it as T-Rosh, as a meaning wine, but it's read without the Vav. The way it's written, it's like T-Rosh. Zacha, if you merit Nasa Rosh, you'll become Rosh. And if you drink a little bit of wine, maybe you'll become big if you know how to control your intake. Lo Zacha Nasha, but if he doesn't merit, probably drinks too much, and it takes him the wrong way, he'll become poor. He'll become impoverished. Rava Ramiksiv Yishamach with a shin. Miksiv Yisamach, Yain Yisamach Levenosh. So it's written with a shin, and we pronounce it with a sin. Zacha Mesamcho. If he merits, it'll make him happy. Lo Zacha Meshamei will drive him crazy. He said, Rava said that wine and spices made me smart because he knew how to do it in the proper measure. Amar Bamar Braid Rav Shimon Bar Abba, Amar Rav Chanina. Madras pasuk says, "Lemi oi," to who is woe, and lemi avoy, more woe, like oi va voy, right? Oi va voy. Well, to me to whom is it a bad? Is it low? Oy oy oy. Lemi medanim, who is fighting and conflicts. Lemi siach, who is always complaining. Lemi p'tzom chinim, who has free wounds, means wounds for nothing. Lemi chachlichos naim, who has redness of the eye. Lema achmalya, and those who tarry, those who wait and drink too much wine. Lebom lachgor memsach, the ones who come in search of the mixed wine, the diluted wine, which is fit for drinking. The wine we have today is all mixed already. In those days, they used to get raw wine, undiluted wine out of the barrel, and would mix it with 3 parts water to 1 part wine. Kiyasura, to make it drinkable. Kiyasura of Dimi, and Dim came Amr, he said, they said in Eretz Yisrael, Hi Kra, this pasuk that we just read, that who has all these things, that who has Oy Vavoy and Mesiach, Lemi Psalm, who has these things, the ones who drink too much wine. So Hi Kra, this pasuk, Man Dedorish Lemeresha L'Sefer Medrash, you can read it from the beginning to the end. When we say for the Reisha Medrash, you can also read it from the back, from the end to the front. What do we mean by that? He doesn't explain it in the Gemara, but Rashi explains it. Look at Rashi, the first of the wide lines. It says, Nidrish Mishmusay, who has all these problems? They're fighting, and it's oy vavoy, and they're troubled and all that. The people who drink too much wine, they have these problems. Where's the wine? They have these problems. Then Rashi in the next line, the second of the wide line says, the one who has troubles and fighting and availus and all kinds of sorrows and wounds, Russia, is always fighting, and who has redness of the eye, what should he do? For him, it's good to drink wine, in order sort of to relieve him of all these troubles. It's good to drink wine to forget his troubles and to assuage all that he's going through. So you can learn it both ways, so to speak. You could say, why do you have these problems? Because you drink too much wine. Or you could say, if you have all these problems, drink wine, to arrest the bad feeling. Darish Uber Galilot, that was his name, I guess. He darshaned the following thing. Yud Gimel Vav and Nemer B'Yayin. There were 13 times it says Vav when it talks about wine. And we're going to quote that pasuk now with Noach, when it says Vav 13 times. Here it says, Vayechal Noach ish Adama. And Noach, the farmer, we'll call him the farmer, the man of the land, started to drink Vayita Karim, and he planted Vayita. You can count the Vavs. Vayita Karim, and he planted a vine. Vayishmani, and he drank from the wine. Vayishkar, and he became drunk. Vayiskol, and he became exposed. He was uncovered. Betoch Alo. Vayarcham Avi Knan, and Cham, the father of Canaan. See where he's called, because he was cursed later. Canaan was cursed. Esarvasaviv, this famous story. He saw the nakedness. He told his 2 brothers. Cham told his brothers, Shem and Yefet, Bachutz, Vayikach Shem v'Yefet says similarly, they took the garment, Vayisim al Shem Shneim, and they put it on their shoulders, Vayelchach, they went in backwards, they didn't want to look at their father, Vayichasu es Erev, they covered up his nakedness, Upneim Achornis, their face was facing the other way, so they didn't look. Vayikatz Noch Miyano, all these things you see, Vav, Vayelchu, Vayechasu, all these things, Vayav, Vayikatz Noch, he woke up, Miyana from his stupor, from his drunkenness, Vayeda es Asher Asalo ben Akatan, he knew what his young son, Ben Al-Katan did, what his young son, what he did. Rav Shmuel, what did famous machlokes? What did Cham do to his father? Rav Shmuel Chadomer says one said he castrated him, Chadomer River, one said he sodomized him. Mandamer so the one who says that he castrated him, Mitoch Kilkulu Beravi, because he destroyed Noah's chance to have a fourth son. He had 3 sons, but by castrating him, couldn't have any more children. So because he castrated him from having a 4th child, he cursed Canaan, who was Cham's 4th son. Rashi quotes the pasuk. It says Ben Ravi Kilul Ben Ravi Shalo Kush Umitzrayim Uput Uknan. Canaan was Cham's 4th son. So since he prevented Noah from having a 4th child, so Noah cursed his grandson, right, Cham's 4th child. The Mandam River, the one who said that he sodomized him, Gomer Vayar says Vayar that he saw what he did. And says and he saw what he did. It says Vayar Cham Aviknom es Ervas Aviv. He saw. What does it mean? He saw that talking about having bia, in this case sodomy. Vayar also Shem ben Chamor. Shem Chamor saw Dina, and of course he had bia with her. So since you see, some say that he sodomized her, but in either case it's talking about bia. So it says vayar is a lotion of having bia. So if he the one who says that he castrated him, that's why he cursed Canaan, the 4th son of Ham. If you say that he had sodomized him, why did he pick on Ham's 4th son, cursed him? Why didn't he just curse Ham directly? So the answer is that shows that he did both. He sodomized him and he castrated him. So therefore, the castration, because of the castration, that's why he cursed the 4th son of Ham. By Chal Noach. So this was all darshan by this fellow over from the Galil. He darshaned all this, and it says here, what's the lashon of vav? And Rashi says also lashon vai, meaning that each vav here was followed by a yud. See, vayochal, every case is vayage, vayiskol, all these things is vav yud. Vav yud is a lashon of vai, of woe, looking at bad things. Bad things happen from drinking wine. Again, don't drink too much, right? What did they have to drink? I always say, what did they have to drink? They didn't have Diet Coke in those days. What are you going to drink? Tea? You know what I mean? They needed a drink, They had to drink wine somewhat, but not too much.
But it says it says in Barkin Avshi, Yismach Lev Adam.
Yeah, we quoted that pasuk here. But we quoted that pasuk. We said V'yayin Yisamach, not Yismach. V'yayin Yisamach Lev Anosh, and we said it says Yisamach, but it really reads it. You can read it as Yishamach. So what do we say? That if you're Zocha, it makes you happy. If you're not Zocha, it makes you crazy, makes you mishamem, like bored and you losing your mind. Okay, and you're right. So it depends if you're Zocha. If you drink it properly, you're Zocha to good things. We're at 4 lines from the bottom page of the Gemara. He started planted a vineyard. Why couldn't you learn from a Rishon? Why did you become drunk? Why couldn't you learn from a Rishon? His all sin, the sin of eating from Esadas came from wine. How did it come from wine? The answer is Command Omer Oseilin. What was that tree that he ate? Eitzadas, what did he ate? They say, in folklore, they say he ate from an apple tree, right? But in the Gemara, it tells us that there are different opinions. What did he actually eat? He says, you know what? He ate from a vine. So you see that when Adam ate from a vine, it led to bad things, right? Led to terrible things. The time Rav Meir Omer, right? That goes like Rav Meir Shita. He says Hashem said, in other words, the lashon of Vayachol noch ish ha'adama. Noach, why couldn't you learn from Ish Adama, Adam Harishan, who actually came out of the earth? Right? Hashem created Min Adama. Why didn't you learn from Adam? Adam, you saw when he drank wine, led to bad things. So why did you drink wine? Right? And he says over here, and Rav Meir says that the one that that the tree that Adam Rishon ate from was the Geffen, or on the base. Now, what brings wailing and troubles to a person? Eliyayin, drinking too much wine. That's what it causes, right? Rashi says because through wine, if it wouldn't be that Adam Rishon had drank wine, that because of that, if Adam had not eaten, he would have lived forever. But he caused people to die by drinking from the Eitz Hadas, from eating from the Eitz Hadas, from drinking the vine. So Rabbi Yehuda, that's Rav Meir's. Rabbi Yehuda Chita, it was a wheat plant. Some say that the Chita eventually will have gone a tree, but Chita, it was a wheat plant. Why? A child does not have the wisdom to say until he tastes some grain. In other words, you see that Chita gives you wisdom, right? And that was Eitz Hadas, right? Eitz Hadas, the Das Tovara. That's his opinion. So one opinion is that it was wine. One opinion is that it was a wheat. But Nechem Yomer Tain, it was a fig. What happened? After they ate from it, they realized that they were naked, and then they sewed, like, they took the fig leaf, the word they took covered themselves with a fig leaf, meaning they made themselves clothing from there. Why? The davar, that the thing that he became, that corrupted him, the davar shebekilklo, by eating from the tree, they actually fixed it. He rehabilitated himself, or he corrected himself from the he made amends from the bad thing that he did from the same tree that he ate from. That's when he, so the fact that he amended himself by making clothing from the fig trees, and it shows you that the thing that he was corrupted was also the fig tree. So we have three different opinions. Now we talk about more one.
In Chait, you can have the same drasha, right?
Of Chita, that?
Because Chait
Yeah.
and Chita have almost the same letters.
Yeah. Okay. One's with a hey, one's with an aleph. Yeah. Good. Okay, good. Different than more. So in Mishlei.
This thing was you with the Daf Yomi. It must have been close to Pesach. You said chametz for Pesach, but with the chita.
Yeah.
Chita wine you can't drink on Pesach.
Yeah.
And I wrote you that you said something about chametz on Pesach. It's chametz on Pesach. You can't eat.
He remembered.
Can't eat. No, he's written it down. What that on chametz? You can't eat.
You can't drink wine that's made with wheat on Pesach.
That's made with wheat. Yeah.
So I don't know what the previous cycles. This worked down near Pesach.
There's a Pesach time. Okay, very good. Okay, it's good that you wrote it down. I don't remember it. All right, so he says in Mishlei like this: Divrei Lemuel. Lemuel is another name for Shlomo HaMelech, right? Lemuel, like he spoke to God. Lemuel. Divrei Lemuel Melech, the king. Masa asher yisarto imo. This is the burden that his mother corrected him with, scolded him with. What happened? Shlomo's mother, Bathsheba, tied him to a pillar. And she told him, what, my son? Oh, my son, oy, Mabri, bar bitni, and woe, the son of my womb, bar nidri, and what, the son of my neder. She said to him, whoa, what are you doing over here? And what do you mean here? So now he explains, everybody knows that your father David HaMelech is a God-fearing man. Yomer, now that you're drinking wine, Yomru, Imo Garmelo, his father's a tzaddik, so why did he turn out to be bad, a drunkard? Because it must be his mother. Now they're going to blame me. Bitni, all the other wives of your father, once they became pregnant, during their pregnancy, they abstained from seeing the king in his bedroom. But I, even though when I was pregnant with you, I pushed myself in the chasti and I entered into your father's bed, so that I should have a son who is strong and fair-skinned. Because Gemara says we have a nida that the last 3 months, if you have bia during the last 3 months of pregnancy, it's good for the child because he comes out strong. So I pushed myself to make you strong. Like, look what's become of you. Uma bar nidri, and what about and woe unto the son of my neder? Why? All the other women in your father's harem, whatever you want to call that. How you notice they made a neder? Yeheli ben Hogul Malchus. I hope my son will be, fit for royalty. I hope he'll be the next king. That's what they're all hoping for. Banina Darti, I made a neder. Bamarti, I said Yeheli ben. The word neder is used loosely over here. Bamarti Yeheli ben Zorah Zamula. I hope that I will have a son who is diligent in Mamula Batorah and filled with Torah. V'hogul and is fit for prophecy. I didn't hope for a son who's going to be king. I hope for a tzaddik, a Talmud Chacham. Alam Lachem Lemuel. No, Lemuel, my son Shlomo Lemuel. We had other names. You had other names. This is not for the kings. What do you mean? Al Lemlochem Shetu Yayin. It's not proper for kings to drink wine. Al Lemlochem, whatever. Amalo, what does that mean? Malachaitzam Lochem. She shows him what do you have to do with the other kings? Other kings drink wine all day, and they become drunk. What do we need God for? That's what it means by Al Lemlochem Shasu Al Lemlochem. In other words, what do they need kale for? They say Alam Lochem kale. That's how he's dashing it. Lemuel. Alam Lochem Shasu Yayin. Alam Lochem Lemuel. Alam Lochem Shasu Yayin. Alam Lochem Amarlo Malachaitzam Lochem. What do you have to do with? Why are you like the other kings to drink wine and they become drunk and they say, "What do we need God for? We need it." Ula Rosnim Eishachar. And for the princes, like, hey, where's the drink? Like, where's the strong drink? Misha called Rosei Olam. In other words, it's not proper for kings to want to drink and for princes to want to drink. And Darshan said this way: Misha kol rasi olam glulo, the one who has all the secrets of the world are revealed to him, like you, Shlomo. Yishte yain, you're going to drink wine. Yishtaker, is it proper for you to become drunk? You can have some say Misha kol rosne olam mashkimen lepascho. You could say that another drush is this, that the one who all the princes of the world get up to greet him. They all come to greet Shalom Melech. That was what they did in those days. All the kings from around the world came to King Shlomo's court. Yishteyain, something like that. All the people in the world look up to you. You're going to drink wine, bishtaker, and become drunk. How do we know that Shlomo repented from his drinking? And he admitted to his mother. The Chsivit says, I am more foolish than a man. And there's no understanding of man in me. What does it mean by that? I am more foolish than man. In other words, I'm more foolish than Noach. I should have learned from him. He drank wine, and I went even worse than him. After I saw what happened to him, I continued to drink wine. There's no understanding of Adam Li. Zeh Adam Arisha, right? Ish Adama. So he says, I am more foolish than Ish. That would be Noach, who's referred to as Ish. And I am more foolish, and I don't have an understanding of Adam Arishon. These guys drank wine, and you saw what happened to them. What happened to Adam after he drank wine? He brought death to the world. And Noach drank wine, and the bad things that happened to him when he became drunk. And I didn't learn from them. I'm worse than them. So you see that he repented. Let's say this potential Ben Sora Mora ate at a mitzvah. He's not chayv until he eats with a chabur of people, with a gang of do-nothings, of idlers, srikim. So he's only chayv that. If he ate with a mitzvah, he ate at the bar mitzvah, he ate at a bar mitzvah, bris or something like that, then he's not a sarmara. Time at a mitzvah, halab mitzvah, mashma if it's not a mitzvah, avagav the lafkul srikin. Even if it's not eating with a bunch of gang, as long as it's not a mitzvah, he should be chayiv. That he can be declared a bet sarmara. Hakamashma avagav the kol srikin. Chiddush is this, that even though he's eating with a gang of do nothings, keep him into mitzvah ka'asik lo mamshich. Even if he's with a gang of do-nothings, even if he's with a gang like that, but if he does a mitzvah, it's a dvar mitzvah, it's not going to make him accustomed to do this, and therefore he won't be a ben Sora Mora. But he's only a ben Sora Mora if it's not a mitzvah and he eats with a group of do-nothings. Now, the Iber Chodesh, we said they're not in the Kaddish the Chodesh, it's just when they publicize it by having a big meal, they went up and they went to the big meal, and this way people knew that the last month had an extra day. Remember the Basar V'yayin Maskets Mashma that they would bring meat and wine to the Iber Chodesh. He said if he ate it Iber Chodesh, he's not Ben Sarmara. Who eats meat and wine at a pseudo like Yavatanya? Ein lo elo b'pasta and b'kitnis. All they eat there is bread, grain bread and beans. Bilvad. That's all they eat there. So Kamash Malafika, the Ein Ola, even though they don't do that, even though they normally eat bread and beans, the EU Asik Basra, and he brought wine, he ordered in from Walt, and he had Basra Yain there also. Ba'achal, Kiva the mitzvah, since it's involved in a mitzvah, he won't become accustomed to it, and he won't be a Ben Sarmar. Ton Rabbanim. Ein Olam Bibra Chodesh Pachim Sarah. You have at least a minyan when you go up to the Chodesh, because again, you want to publicize it. Not less than 10 men. You don't have less than 10 men when you go to Ibra Chodesh, when you make this party, this Suda. You only go there with bread and beans. You only go up. When do you do this? This is the night after the 30th. Rashi, right before the lines get wide, says Motzoi Shloshim. After the 30th day, in other words, if they didn't sanctify the 30th day, making the 30th day the new moon, so that the previous month would be 29 days, and the new moon and the new month is 30 days, is the 30th, is really the first of the next month. So there was no Kiddush HaChodesh, they didn't see the new moon, so the 30th would be actually the 30th of the previous month, and then the next day, this month was Mu'uber. So if they were Mu'uber, they went up after the 30th day, they went up that night, and this way they publicize it that there is that only the next day would be Rosh Chodesh. They only go during the day. They don't go during the day. They only go at night. At that night, said the opposite. They don't go by night, only during the day. Like he told the son, get up early, meaning while it's still daytime on the 30th, go up to the Suda so people should see you going up there. Publicize it that today was the 30th day, and then the next morning stay up the whole night there, and then the next morning go out early so people will see you. If you wait middle of the day, people won't know. In other words, that people will listen to you, people will hear about it. So the idea is that if you go up towards the end of the 30th day while it's still light, people will see you going up. If you go in the middle of the night, nobody will see you. So you go up while it's still day, and then the next morning you go out early, not in the middle of the day when people are at work, but go out early that people know that you had a Sudas, what's called a Sudas Ibra Chodesh, and people know that the 30th day was yesterday was really the 30th day of the month and not the beginning of a new month. So he's also not a Ben Samar. All these things are exceptions. If any of these things happen, he's not a Ben Samar. Even the Orche, since he's in the normal way. Again, he didn't steal Meiser Sheni money from Meiser Sheni food. He stole money and bought with it Meiser Sheni. With that, he converted to Meiser Sheni food. But that's normally the way you do it. So that will not addict him to do bad things. Also, let's say he ate bird meat, kosher meat. He ate chicken, whatever, chicken, turkey, whatever. Okay, because it has to be meat, regular meat. It's mashma if he ate things like that. Shkatzim also refers to birds. Birds are shkatzim that are not kosher, right? All these things are not kosher. Either an animal that died without shchita or something that was a treifa, not what we call treifa. A treifa meaning it had a mortal wound. Shkatzim non-kosher birds, things like that, not sure kosher birds and creeping things. He's not a Ben Saramara. Mashma hatahor, and if it would be a kosher bird, mashma it would be a kosher bird. So how do you say? Rava said if he ate a kosher bird, he's not a bird. It's mashma only if he ate non-kosher birds. He's not a Ben Saramara. If he ate kosher birds, he would be. The answer is no. Kitanam mastisan lahashlim means this. The Mishnah means enochanam. If he ate a kosher bird by itself, he wouldn't be a Ben Saramara. But let's say he ate meat and he was short a kazayas of the tartimar or the mana, whatever the measure was that he had to eat. If he was short a kazayas and he filled that kazayas with basar oaf, then it would be okay. That's what he's pointing. If he just ate basar oaf, he's not a Ben Saramara. But if he ate meat and he was mashlim with, that's what Rashi says 4 lines from the bottom of the page in Rashi. Shafilu ochal tatima basar chaser kazayas mehema tahora. V'shlimu tatima basar oaf, and he was mashlim, he completed it with a kazayas of basar ofos. Tameim, he's potter. His tameim it's potter. Mishum deina shemei bekolo shal makom. The kavasa b'torm chayav. But if he ate a tahor bird, a kazayas to be mashlim, it would be okay. The reason if he ate anything treif, anything you can't eat, anything that's usher to eat, is because it's he's not listening to his parents, he's not listening to God. Going on to the Gemara now, 6 lines from the bottom of the page in the Gemara. Ochel davar shu mitzvah v'dvar. Let's say it's something which is a var mitzvah or a var. Now we already mentioned if he was at a sudas mitzvah or any mitzvah. So what's the point of your mitzvah? Var mitzvah tanchum yavelim. That it's a mitzvah to give comfort to the avelim, like the sudas avra, or food that you give to the avelim. So if he ate there, that's not mamshechim. That doesn't make him that's not going to be addictive or make him accustomed to eat food like that. Varavera tainus sibur, tainus sibur and avera. The time am I. In other words, when it's a mitzvah, the reason we said is because it won't be accustomed to do these things. It won't become accustomed. If it's a varavera, what's the reason? The parents come and say he won't listen to our voice. Again, with kolenu, we'll see later on, means they both had to have the exact same voice, which is also almost impossible. But kolenu, he's not listening to our voice. But if he's eating treif, he's not listening to God's word. So he doesn't fit into the category of just a child who's not listening to them. He ate any food, but it's not meat. Or he drank any drink and he's not didn't drink wine. He's not a ben samara. To include even a figs, like they had these figs from that place, Kilis, was very strong. It was intoxicating. He drank honey and milk, drank a lot of that stuff, could also make him intoxicated. The Tanya, achol dvei lekilis, b'shasa chalav, b'shasa dvash v'chalav, v'nichlas l'mikdash. He ate these things, and he ate these things, and it made him intoxicated. He went into the base of mikdash. He's chayav because it says yayin v'shecher al teish. It says don't drink shecher. This is also something strong. Okay, but even though this can intoxicate you, it doesn't work unless he's drinking wine, because the rule is zolel v'sovei. It's got to be wine. Even if he becomes intoxicated, that doesn't make him ben sar moro. Says the Gemara, Tana Rabban in the second line on Ayin Aleph. As we said before, if he ate any meat, that he ate any food but not meat. But he drink wine. And what does Zolel v'Sovei mean? Like we were saying before, like the Mishnah said, this Brisa says pretty much what the Mishnah said, that even though there's no proof, there's a remembrance from this Pasuk. It says, right, in Mishnah, Al Tihi B'Sovei Yayin, don't be among those who become drunk with wine. Bezolei Basar are those who become gluttonous with meat. But Bezolei Basar Lamo. That's the right. Bezolei Basar Lamo. I think that's the same parsha we talks about. Most of the psukim of Eishes Chayil are in that parsha. But Omer at Pasuk says, "Ki sove bezolel yivarash." The one who drinks a lot of wine, and he eats a lot of meat will become impoverished. Bikroim talbish numa, and this one who becomes as he is like sleeping, or right, he becomes sleepy. He will wind up with torn, ragged clothing. If he is in this state of drowsy, if he's drowsy, he'll wind up with torn clothes. Whoever sleeps in the base medrash instead of learning, he sleeps there. His Torah becomes, like in rags. He knows a piece here, a piece there. He just doesn't know everything. Shneimar ukrom talbishnu, the one who sleeps in the base medrash, his clothes will become tattered and torn. All right, we'll pick up from the Mishnah tomorrow. Mitzvah Hashem. Have a good day, everybody. Kol tuv.